time is exactly 8:54. We are moving along, and next on the show, we'll be talking with General Moyo. He is the Gauteng coordinator of the Voices Against Evictions campaign and Siyafana Sonke action campaign. We're looking at the Operation Ubuntu March to demand land, safety, and an end to xenophobia. A very good morning to you, General Moyo. Welcome to the program. The all-important question that I'm going to kick off with is this march in direct answer to the March and March protest action that we've been seeing recently in our country?
Good morning, and good morning to the viewers at home. Am I
Thank
audible?
you. I thought
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Greetings again, and greetings to the viewers. Yes, this march is directly a response to the ongoing March and March threats to the vulnerable migrants across the country. We are in solidarity with all the African brothers and sisters that are facing this crisis, that are man-made crisis in the country.
How do you respond to even certain political leaders suggesting that they don't have any problems with immigrants who are legal, they have their papers in order, but the pushback is against illegal migrants, people who don't have their papers, and they might be in our country for nefarious reasons?
That has been a rhetoric that has been actually pushed to push this propaganda. But if you can look at the recent numbers or the recent figure of those that are being forced to the so-called forced voluntary deportation, where people that have documents, and the majority of them were not even here in South Africa illegally. So this March and March and this other vigilante groups operation doesn't care about this documentation, if you are documented or not. So we've seen that being used, that they are targeting those undocumented, as previously there are others like your Operation Tutula and the others. But currently, everyone is being forced out as long as you are a migrant. So there is no truth to that they are only targeting the undocumented. Documented or undocumented, as long as you are a migrant, you are a victim.
Okay, so let's talk about the march that you are organizing. Give us the details of that march, and then do you not think that there might be a direct pushback or confrontation on the said day, because you have made the details of the march very public? Do you not think that opposition parties like March and March and Operation Dudula might push back against you and the people that support this march on the 8th of August? Will there not be some form of conflict then on the 8th of August?
They've been calling their marches, they've been exercising their right to march. We are also exercising our constitutional right to march. So I don't expect that there will be any confrontations. If they want to do that, we've not been doing that in their marches. We've been actually protecting the vulnerable and the rights of those that are affected without confronting them. So I think it will be a very problematic time and a date if they will choose to confront us on that particular date, because we are not aiming for any confrontational battles with them. What we are saying, the day is organized to defend our right to protest and to voice our solidarity with those that are affected by their actions. So on the 8th, we'll be meeting at the gathering at the Bears Nodia Square in Joburg, CBD, marching to the office of the Premier. in highlighting two of the most key issues that are affecting us, which one is the proposed amendment to the PI Act and the issue of these ongoing xenophobic attacks.
Why particularly opposition to the PI Act? Let's just understand the reasoning behind that.
As a coalition that is made up of activists that are land activists and housing activists, we came across this shocking news that there's a push in terms of proposing new amendment that will be criminalizing the land and housing organizers and activists like ourselves. So we came together to form this campaign to say we will engage in those so-called public consultations, but in those public consultations around this amendment were not actually fair, were not actually open widely to communities to access. They were not accessible to communities. So we felt there are a number of issues that were proposed to be amended in these new amendments that we feel that will be criminalizing us, will be impacting badly on most of those housing and activist organizations like ourselves. So we felt that we should organize the pushback on top of the submissions that we've made with the protest that we are having.
So let's talk about what you're marching for. On the day, you're going to be marching to the Premier's office and you're going to, I presume, hand over a memorandum. What does it contain? Just give us, share the points of contention that you, General Moyo, and the people that are supporting you in this march. What is it that you are raising, and by when do you expect some form of response and support from South Africa as a whole?
Yeah, we are raising actually or targeting number of department or state institutions like your Human Settlement, the Department of Home Affairs, your SABs that are silent on this issue of ongoing xenophobia. But specifically as Gauteng, we will be targeting the Office of the Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, in raising a number of issues. One, we will remember that this is August. We remember the 76 fallen Black lives in Usindiso tragedy. That will be marking the 3rd year this year without any follow-up and implementations of the Kampepe Commission's report and recommendations. So we are actually pushing forward on that issues, more especially on part 2 of the report, which deals with the issues of housing that we are also raising and pushing back against this PI Act. Those are the issues amongst the issues that we will be raising in our memorandum as a Gauteng, but largely we will be also raising number of issues around the end of this xenophobia and maybe trying to call for a proper management of these processes of so-called voluntary repatriations, because we believe that those are not a self or voluntary repatriation, but are forced through the unlawful evictions that are currently being promulgated in communities, in workplaces, in businesses every week, whereby people are now heading to the consulates and they are classified as voluntarily repatriants, whereas they are not. So we are calling for a number of issues as we are mobilizing civil society to come out in numbers, migrant communities, all those that are sympathetic, human rights defenders, NGOs, South Africans, locals to come out in support of this and in pushback against this PI amendment that will be promulgated very soon after these elections.
What I find it interesting, one of the items that you are also raising an issue around is end criminalization of poverty. Survival is not a crime. What exactly do you mean by that?
Yeah, we mean the direction that this government of the GNU is taking actually, which pushing back with the land expropriation, pushing back with the pie amendments or proposals, is actually criminalization of poverty. Those that are poor will be criminalized by promulgation of these laws that are actually apartheid inherited laws, which are being actually revised. So we feel that this is a criminalization of poverty. We are seeing many people in different aspects being pushed to stricken poverty levels of lives. Like if you can see at the SASA level with the SRD grants, where many millions are being actually taken out of the system with all these ongoing reviews and what. So there are a number of laws that they are pushing to make sure that people are pushed into poverty. So that is what we are meaning by criminalization of poverty, where the state is using these austerity measures to make sure that they criminalize those that are organizing and resisting these ongoing austerity measures and all these bureaucratic and neoliberal policies that they are promulgating.
Interestingly, as well, I note that this march takes place on the eve of Women's Day, and that, of course, is the 8th of August. Why specifically that day? What is the significance of holding the march on that day, and also the significance of the dress code being red on that day?
Yeah, red is the blood of all those that died in the struggle and the fight for the liberation of Africa. There's the blood that symbolizes that we are united, we are all suffering the same, we are all facing the same side. It can be in Gaza, the genocide happening in Gaza, Venezuela, Congo. We are all the same, suffering the same. That is why we are saying we are all red, and we are all wearing and encouraging everyone to wear red on the day of the 8th. And the significance of the 8th is the eve of the day where the women marched against the apartheid era laws of the Dompas, if you still remember. So that is why we are saying this government of the GNU is taking us back to the apartheid eras, where some of those laws that they are busy pushing and promulgating and allowing the vigilante groups to push, those are the apartheid clandestine laws. So we are marching on this eve of the Dompas march, which were organized by women in 1955 to union building to support men who are forced to carry passes wherever they are going. So we are also saying away with the apartheid laws, away on this day of the eve of the Women's Day. And as we are seeing that most of those that are being victimized in the vulnerable groups like migrants, mostly are women in xenophobic attacks in this very same PI Act that will be promulgated. Most people who will be affected are women. In all of those laws and bylaws that they are pushing, most people that are in forefront of being impacted badly are women in all struggles. That is why we use this day to remind them that the 9th was a day where women were standing in solidarity with men. That is why we organized this solidarity march on the eve of the 9th.
Okay, we need to wrap up. One final question regarding Operation Dudula and March and March. Have you, as General Moyo and, of course, the Gauteng coordinator of the Voices Against Evictions campaign and Siyafana Sonke action campaign, have you ever attempted to try and engage with the people of Operation Dudula and March and try and reach some common ground? And what you've expressed to me today via this interview, express to them how you see these communities being very vulnerable, the migrant community, and that they should try and meet you possibly halfway or see the situation from the migrant community's point of view, that they too have rights, that they too are people, that they too are here to try and find, possibly build a new life for themselves?
Unfortunately, with the vigilante groups like your Dudula, your March and March, and the other political formations, there is no reasoning capacity in them. They cannot reason. We've been trying to have some dialogues and calling for community dialogues, but for them it's barbarism, it's fascism that they are pushing. So it shows that they are a united force that it's a project or a sponsored project that is facilitated somewhere and sponsored somewhere to make sure that they cause this havoc, they cause this fear, and they cause this ungovernable kind of situation in communities, install this fear in migrants. And who knows, there's somebody behind them that is actually controlling them, that is powerful, that is actually sponsored somewhere as a project. So with them, you can't reason with them because what they push is violence, it's hate. They don't want to listen to any reasoning. Like if you look at their actually manufactured propaganda that they are actually pushing, it's all about taking jobs. Migrants are taking jobs. They are so and so, statistics that are not actually substantiated by any research, that they will tell you that migrants are about 30 million in South Africa, whereas we are 65 million South Africans. So you can't reason with those kind of barbarians. Those are making up things, making up figures, lying in the national platforms. So it's very hard to reason and to have a meaningful dialogue, to meet with them and engage on such critical issues. But for them, it's about hate and violence only.
We have heard rumors that these vigilante groups are being funded by parties interested in causing dissent in South Africa. There's also been rumors that these are foreign parties. They are Western imperialists that are trying to cause havoc in our country and to split the country up. But those are the rumors, nothing substantiated. And we've also further on heard rumors that these parties are being paid big amounts of money not to back down. And we know, sadly, money speaks all languages. So yes, we too have heard those rumors. We hope and pray that it's not true. And we also hope and pray that this vigilante action does kind of die down and that we can all live in peace and harmony. But that's where we're going to leave it. Any final thoughts from you before I wrap up?
Yeah, our final thought is that we wish that the vigilantism that is happening, it might come to an end, and it might come to an end very soon. And those that aims to climb the ladder of political electioneering, using the scapegoating with migrants and using this violence and hate, should stop that. And the IEC to make sure that they stamp its authority in making sure that they will disqualify anyone that will be using vigilantism, will be using scapegoating and hate, or hate speech and hate language in terms of electioneering or campaigning, to be actually deregistered in the IEC. So we'll be watching those that will be campaigning, trying to use the platform of hate and violence in communities to get votes, so that they don't get those platforms as we've seen in 2021. So we know that there are many registered new formations that will be using the ticket of xenophobia to make sure that they garner votes. So that's what we are watching for. And this
Thank you indeed. Thank you. General Moyo, thank you for your thoughts. You are the coordinator for Voices Against Evictions campaign. Hope and pray all goes well on the 8th of August, gathering point Bayes Nudia Square. Thank you for your time. God bless and keep us all safe. It is 14 after 9 o'clock right
Thank you,
here
ma'am.
on
Thank you very much.
News and Views, and also a reminder that this hour of News and Views is brought to you by Africa Muslims Agencies. Please stay with us.